Well, welcome everybody to the Joe and Joe Weather Show on this Monday night, the 21st of December, 2020. 10 days left. The Joe Weather Show brought to you by Omni True Value Hardware. And we're at that point now where it's melt by day, freeze by night. We have, at least at the moment where I am, clear skies and light wind. So we've got black ice forming. So definitely a need for the rock salt, 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, 631-756-1125. The website omnitruevalue.com. Tons of rock salt, Long Island's largest rock salt provider, and all the snow melting products that you can imagine, including Omni Melt, Petalo, calcium chloride pellets. Someone told me that stuff is very good, by the way, and Mag ice pellets and flakes, shovels, scrapers, snow blowers, whatever you need. It's Omni True Value Hardware of West Babylon. Mr. Rayo, how
Well, you
are
talk
you?
about how we need the rock salt to help melt things down. Today, we did something that, at least here at Putnam Valley, we hadn't done since last Tuesday, and that was go above freezing. We have had a number of days where the temperatures were at or below freezing, and early today, I think even before noontime, we cracked freezing, and I think we got all the way up to about 40 degrees, the dizzying heights of 40 this afternoon. So it was kind of nice to see the temps go above freezing. We're going to be getting a lot warmer than that before the week is over.
Oh yeah, I mean I'm thinking 60 or better on Thursday ahead of that cold front, especially inland, and then of course it turns sharply colder behind it. I want to talk about that front because it looks pretty impressive. Just want to mention really quick, Robert Russo got super chat rolling tonight. Thank you so much, Robert, for your support, and 32 likes so far on this the Monday before Christmas. Let's see if we can get that number up into triple digits here. Uh, just hit the like button. And if you're new to the channel, welcome. And you can subscribe to the my YouTube channel by just using your Gmail account. And then you can jump on the chat board and join in the wonderful conversation that is underway even as we speak, Mr. Rayo. So I was I was looking at this weather front for Thursday, and especially the NAM this afternoon and the GFS too. I'm wondering whether SPC might have to make a little mention of some severe weather somewhere in the eastern part of the U.S. come late Thursday into Thursday night. I am curious uh, as to your never to be humble opinion on this particular subject matter.
Well, I wouldn't doubt that there's going to be some rumbles of thunder. It would be, ironic if we did get some thunderstorm activity because I think back to Christmas Eve, 1966, with the famed Donner and Blitzen snowstorm, where we had 6 or 8 inches of snow fall in New York City on Christmas Eve night, and also we had thunder and lightning. And here we are now coming into a completely different scenario, not a coastal storm, but as you point out, Joe, a very sharp cold front, and there certainly looks to be enough lifting and gusty, strong southerly winds ahead of it should indeed push temperatures well up into the 50s to at least here in Hudson Valley, maybe even touching 60, and then a sharp change to colder weather behind that front. It looks like in time for Christmas Day. Now, I've been hearing people talk about, oh, we might see snow on Christmas Day. If we do see, in my opinion, if we see any snow on Christmas Day, it will be just a few snowflakes at the tail end of whatever moisture, whatever lingering shower activity there
Right,
is
and
to be had.
that doesn't count for a white Christmas.
No,
It's with the snow that we've had. I mean, it's destined to get all washed away.
well, I don't know.
Most
We
of it may
still have
get washed away.
we still have quite a
The
bit of
ski
it here.
resorts and the shopping center parking lots won't. But I don't know. We'll see.
Well, I think it's going to be a slow process to get rid of the snow over the next few days. What would really help, of course, would be if we had some fog to help really eat away at that snow. Well, we'll have those warming temperatures into the 50s on and a southerly wind, and probably some patchy fog as well on Thursday, so that'll help. But I think there'll still be a little bit of snow left over on Friday. So I'm told that if there's any snow of significance more than just a trace, then it would count as a white Christmas. So we may very well have a white Christmas, at least up here this year.
Point oh, point one,
Yeah.
point one. God. Uh, all right. So I'm thinking, going back to the weather front and Thursday night. Uh, 9 times out of 10, when fronts come through like that, uh, the models might show that it looks like it changes to snow, but more often than not, the rain just shuts off and it just gets windy and colder. Maybe there's a chance that there might be, even if it does happen, it's going to be so brief. I mean, we're talking about less than an hour, I think, if it were to change. It's probably going to change in Western PA. It's going to change in Western New York, and then the change area is going to shift up northeastward as you head up toward upstate New York and into northern New England. But I really doubt that we're going to see much of anything on the backside of this thing.
Well, you may remember you were looking at the Canadian model, and they had some kind of a wave of low pressure on this front
Right, which was
hit
the
the
only
Northeast.
way that there was going to be something happening if somehow the wave, a second wave were to develop. But it doesn't appear to me like that's going to happen. That doesn't look
No,
like that's going to happen.
no, it doesn't. So it's just going to be a very sharp, hard, cold front. And if Santa's watching, and why would he not be watching the Joe and Joe show? A very important programming note now for Santa.
Well, he doesn't have to wait for the elves to bring him the GFS like he does in Rudolph. Here's the latest weather report, Santa.
Yeah.
No
Uh,
Joe of mine is going to be seen with a red-nosed reindeer.
it's interesting. I'm sorry to break off from the weather for a moment, but they Rudolph was on, what was it, the Family Channel, Channel 49 on Optimum
Yeah,
yesterday,
I watched it on Netflix.
and they had a part which I never saw before. Just before Santa takes off for the island of misfit toys, Yukon Cornelius, who's constantly throwing his ice pick up in the
Right,
air
and tasting
and
it.
comes down, and then he licks it.
Yeah.
And I always said, why does he keep licking it? And the answer came in this. I guess they stuck this in, or they did this, but you never see it on CBS because they want to jam a commercial in. But he licks the ice pick, and he says, I found a peppermint mine. It was peppermint.
Yeah, the I you got to get hold of a lot of these shows. You got to get a hold of the uncut versions because they've been so badly butchered by networks that have just done their best to make it more commercial than it is programming.
You're absolutely right. And anybody feel free to visit my Facebook page, Joe Rayo Weather. And last week I put a bumper. And you know what a bumper is? A bumper is, you see these on TV now, and they last maybe all of 10 or 15 seconds where they say, Merry Christmas or Happy Hanukkah or whatever, from all of us here at Channel whatever.
Right.
But back in the day, 40 or 50 years ago, Joe, they used to have bumpers that lasted a whole minute. And CBS had one where there are these birds up in a tree,
Oh,
and all
that's such a classic.
it is. It's,
That is such a classic. I hadn't seen that in years, and I think you shared it or someone posted it. Maybe it was
yeah,
you
yeah.
back a few years ago, and it just brought back so many. Those were really. That was just such a really well done
A guy
Merry
coming up,
Christmas.
a guy, they're all singing like a Christmas tune or whatever. Then all of a sudden they all stop and they see somebody coming, a woodsman or whatever, with a big saw, and it looks like he's going to cut the tree down. But instead he takes the saw and he starts playing, um, God rest you,
I see,
merry
Merry
gentlemen.
Gentleman. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's a very. I forgot what it's called, but I think if you Google CBS Christmas and then put in like 1965 or 1966, if
It
you've
was done
never,
by R.O. Bleckman.
yes,
And
it's
Bleckman
just
Bleckman was used to do these line drawings, and this particular drawing or this particular cartoon was nothing more than just lines, and and it was a classic. He also did one. They actually colored it where
well, he did
um,
you talking about was it called the line and the dot? A lesson in
I don't know if he
geometry
did the, I
in
don't know if he did
geometry
the dot in the line.
mathematics. Did he do
I'm not.
that one?
I don't know if he did that one, the Dot of the Line. I think he actually won an Oscar for that.
Yeah. Oh, that's hilarious. That's such a great little cartoon short. That is
But
just hysterical.
Blackman is still with us. I'm happy to say he's 90 years
Well,
old,
God bless him.
and he's still around. He also did a very famous Alka-Seltzer commercial where a man is arguing with his stomach, and the
Nice.
stomach is saying, and he's always having pepperoni pizza. Anyway,
All
back to
right,
the work.
let's get some weather going here, and we can start off tonight with the U.S. satellite loop, which is well, not much going on really. We've got this weak system tonight, Joe, dropping down from the Great Lakes, and you can see clouds with that. Again, at least out here, it's gone mostly clear, so we're getting radiational cooling down to 31 here in central Long Island in the hills, and there's black ice all over the place. There's not a whole lot happening from the standpoint of current weather. Uh, Underneath that disturbance that's moving southeastward, it's on the weak side. Everything's out of phase right now. We've got, we went through these streaks where you get that northern and southern stream just sort of phase together, and of course that helped to form the big storm from last week. Now we're in this zone where everything's a little bit out of sync. So these southern short waves moved out without hooking up with anything from the north, so you get these minor systems. And I really didn't go for very much tonight, other than maybe late tonight or tomorrow morning, from just maybe a passing rain or snow shower. And it looks like most of that's going to be south of New York City, down in southern New Jersey, maybe southeast PA, into Delaware, and then it moves on out. And yesterday, a few places got a nice whitening of the ground with the disturbance that moved through. And I drove home, by the way, from Ohio, 33 degrees, although 33, 34, 32, a little bit of snow, a little bit of rain on the way, and a lot of fog. And by the way, um, it was gorgeous. I keep getting these wonderfully beautiful drives on these road trips I've been taking, and I I've never done this before, but I mean, I've driven across Pennsylvania before, but this was the first time that I've done it in the wintertime. And I think it was the first time it was snow covered from one end to the other, north to south, east to west, the entire state, all the mountains, deep snow cover in the middle. I drove on the bottom arc of the 20-inch plus zone, and they got hammered out. They got hammered in that. There's no doubt when you drive there and you see how much snow has been plowed up. It's a lot.
It has been, quite a week. I mean, we've gone from hardly anything to a full scale winter in the span of just 7 days. Of course, the folks up in Binghamton still trying to recover from 40 plus inches of snow. And Joe, it just goes to show you how we really need to improve the computer modeling. The fact that I think up in that area initially, we were going for like maybe a few inches of snow, and they end up with 40. I mean,
Hmm.
we really need to improve or fine tune the computer models here because we really didn't do all that great last week.
No, and I think part of the issue is the fact that when we look at the teleconnections later on, anytime the teleconnections are pushing the envelope of how many standard deviations they are from the mean, the further they are away from that mean, the more volatile the models become, particularly when the NAO goes negative. And that's where it's been since the beginning of the month. But we're going to stay that way probably into January. The Weather Service took their old radars down on their website, and they put up this new interactive one. I'm not quite used to it yet. I don't know what my verdict on this is at the moment, but we actually have a little bit of snow aloft in parts of New Jersey, and a little small echo looks like right over me. It's a little more active when you get back into Pennsylvania, and they're just kind of widening out the radar view across the United States. I hit something where I'm getting all these counties coming up, but weather on the East Coast on the radar is very quiet. Also, the same across the Gulf states. And for some reason, I'm not getting the western half of the U.S. Let me see if I can make this. No, for some reason, it cuts off. Okay, I guess
It's
I
going to
still
take
got to
time to
figure
get used.
this out.
It's going to take time to get used to this, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm not 100% thrilled with it.
I mean,
Oh,
I honestly thought the old radar was better than this, but I guess,
yeah, I'm not crazy about this. In if you want my never to be humble opinion, but I've been not crazy about things before, and then suddenly I just kind of warm up to it. It's just a matter of getting used to. Now, if you are thinking about snow for Thursday on the backside of this front, WPC, the weather prediction folks, they're not thinking about snow for the coastal plain, but they do have a fairly high probability of at least a couple of inches in parts of West Virginia, northwestern PA, and a large area of at least 50% probability of at least two. And if we go to four, let's see if they do anything with four. Yeah, a couple of small patches, northwest PA and also in West Virginia. They have a small area of 80% or higher probability of at least four. And you can see most of the snow runs right along the border with Canada. The Northwest is even not seeing much here with regards to snowfall probability over the next 72 hours. And this ends, by the way, on Christmas Eve at 7 o'clock at night. NEPA Storm Chasers hitting Super Chat tonight. Thank you, sir, very much for doing that. 66 likes so far. Triple digits, folks. Bang the like button if you haven't done so already. The northern part of the jet stream, Joe, is still very busy, and I just pulled up the Canadian satellite loop. You'll see it in a second because you're on a bit of a delay. But we do have energy rolling along. There's the system from yesterday is passing south of Nova Scotia and heading toward Newfoundland now. The second system behind it over the Great Lakes, you see that moving southeastward, and then we've got all this energy that's streaming into the northwest and into southwestern Canada, and of course that is the seed that will create the low in the northern plains that heads to the Great Lakes, and the strong cold front that will trail from that low and move through here on Thursday. What do you think of? I was thinking maybe this might be borderline wind advisory criteria ahead of it on the coast, and maybe even behind it. The gradient looks fairly tight on both sides. I don't
I
know what
think
you're
so.
thinking about that.
I agree with you. I'm not going to go whole hog and say that, yeah, we're going to be raising wind advisories or high wind watches or whatever yet, but it certainly looks like from this distance now that we could very well see, at least along the coast, uh, places that will be experiencing significant wind criteria, and also the as you said, in the aftermath as the front moves on through first thing in the morning. Now now you got my mind whirling around here now about the possibility of losing power of all things, either on Christmas Eve night or maybe Christmas morning. I hope that that does not come to pass, but this certainly is a formidable weather system that quite possibly could do that, if not well in advance as it approaches. Maybe when the front is actually moving on through very late Thursday night or early first thing on Friday morning, we could be seeing with those gusty and shifting winds. You got that V pattern in the
Yes.
isobars,
Yeah,
and that
whenever that happens, we always seem to get hammered with something.
right.
Rainfall wise from WPC over the next 7 days, so this takes us through next Monday night. So there are two systems here involved, but most of this rain precip that you're seeing, the liquid precip, is from the first one, and every bit of inch and a quarter, inch and a half to some 2 inch plus amounts in northeast PA and on up. Uh, this is not going to play well, by the way, in upstate New York, because they got this little splash of 2 to 3 inches from about Binghamton east northeast to just past Albany, right in the heart of the area that got 30 to 40 inches of snow. That snow was not powdery snow. It was more of it wasn't a pure wet snow, but it definitely wasn't completely powdery. So there's water content there. I'm wondering, Joe, with some snow melt and heavy rain, whether there might be some flash flood possibilities on Thursday. I think the saving grace is that it's relatively quick. It comes in Thursday afternoon. It should be out. I'm thinking maybe midnight or a little bit shortly after that. So maybe that keeps it from causing serious problems. But the rain and the combination with rain and 40, 30 inches of snow on the ground is not a good one.
The worst of this looks like it's going to come, I think, after midnight. Now that may actually be a good thing because a lot of people perhaps will be doing traveling during Thursday afternoon and evening to visit family or friends, or maybe not, considering the COVID situation. But the heavy duty rains are going to be hitting probably, I think, in the hours around and soon after midnight on Thursday night and early Friday morning. As to how much, I could see, in some spurts of moderate or heavy activity, and maybe you throw in a little bit of convection, you might very well pick up in excess of an inch. That's certainly the amounts, and the duration will certainly become clearer to us in the coming days as we get closer to the event.
All right, so we're going to take a look at the teleconnections. The first one that we have up here is the Pacific North America pattern, which simplified is trough in the east, ridge in the west, trough at 160 west, and there's a couple of other geographic areas that it takes into account. The P&A is slightly positive right now, and actually all the members have it maybe briefly going to neutral, but all the GFS ensemble members have this in a positive state right into the first few days of January, which is as far as the forecast goes. And the North Atlantic Oscillation, the NAO, actually has been mostly negative since the 1st of December and is now there are a couple of members that at the end of the period of this forecast period go above the neutral line, but the vast majority of the NAO GFS ensemble members have the NAO negative, and some actually have it. When we get to like -2, to me that's strongly negative. You start pushing numbers lower than that, and then we're talking about what I usually refer to as off the wall negative. And Joe, if you want to see off the wall negative, take a look at this Arctic oscillation forecast, which went negative on the 1st of December, has been strongly to somewhat off the wall. Right around the time of the snowstorm, we went off the wall negative. We're going to come back a little bit in the next 7 days or so, but still negative. And then, while not all the members agree, there's a fair number of those members that take this down almost 5 and 6 standard deviations from the mean negative. And that is going to be interesting to see what the outcome of such an extreme position. When a teleconnection gets into an extreme position, something nasty is going to be happening someplace. I don't know where, but there's going to be I would like use the phrase hell to pay if this winds up verified. Again, I don't know where, but when the atmosphere is that out of whack, something's got to give someplace.
Could it be any more, diametrically opposite
Last year,
than what we had from last year? I mean, this
when we
that
were
that is
off
kind
the
of
wall
amazing.
positive on the
Right,
AO for months.
right, and that AO, that positive AO helped to bottle up the vortex, the polar vortex, right around the polar regions, and that's why it was cold, very cold, over the polar regions for much of last winter. But this is a totally different scenario coming up. So let's see what happens. Fasten your sleep belts, Joe.
Yes. Now I want to go over. I want to go back to. We're going to do a little bit of upper air here because um, really, essentially, nothing has changed. We are in the same pattern. It ebbs and flows, but we're in basically the same pattern. And what I find interesting is that the night model last night, and you're going to see the models because of the high volatility due to those teleconnections being stretched. You're going to see models going back and forth in different directions from run to run. We saw this ahead of the snowstorm last week, and we're seeing it again. Now, last night's 6Z run, Joe, I don't know if you got to see it, but after this deep trough goes by in the east, we've got the system that comes up for Monday. And there's no big deal about this. It just there's a short wave, another one of these southern stream short waves that moves on through. There's one that comes down from the north. They don't really phase; they stay separate. But what was interesting is that the GFS and actually a couple of other models have done this on odd runs, makes another 50-50 low on New Year's Eve, and then of course the southern stream. If you look at it in the Pacific, folks, it's one after another that comes crashing into the west and into California or the northwest. Uh, this is not that different from what we just went through. There's a low near Newfoundland, and then there's a new upper low with the next system that's down in Illinois and Indiana, and it gets shoved out underneath us. And it wound up producing, at least the way the map showed it, was something similar. It was uncanny how much it looked like it. But again, the system for Monday, that's one we need to pay attention to, because the system for Monday is the one that may potentially try to set up something near Newfoundland, a 50-50 low, a little bit of a block. It's not as strong as the one that we saw with the prior system, but this we need you need that to happen in order to get another cold high to build up in southeastern Canada. And when you look at the surface from that 6Z run, which I'm going to bring up right now, you're going to see, really, it was just it was almost the same. The primary is a little further north. There's a low that goes into eastern Kentucky, secondary that starts to form in Georgia, off the North Carolina coast, and suddenly I got to put the frozen precip on here. Hang on a second. And suddenly you've got a low sitting off the Delaware coast with snow up to Boston, snow on Long Island, northern half of New Jersey, back through Pennsylvania, down into Virginia. The load gets kind of trapped in the box there for a little while, but it really it looks almost the same. And how I love to point out how when you're in a pattern, things may not repeat exactly, but they do have a tendency to rhyme. And I would just say, again, watch the Monday system, because the Monday system will be the tip off as to whether we wind up with something like this, or as it was on the last run, where that feature from Monday doesn't really develop very much. So you wind up with kind of a flattish looking low that goes to the lower lakes, and a secondary that sort of forms in the Carolina mountains, and there's a little rain with it, little low there southeast of Nantucket by New Year's Day, moving away, and there's no real consequence as far as snow is concerned, because without that low up at 50 and 50, you don't have the cold high anchored in as strongly. But it's an interesting pattern. And the other thing I want to point out, Joe, you can also have too much of a good thing. For all of you snow lovers out there who love the negative NAO, remember, if it's too strong, what happens? Well, then you get something like this, which is what the recent run did, which late in the forecast period it has a low moving across Tennessee, straight east to North Carolina, and straight east from there. So you get snow in Virginia, West Virginia, parts of North Carolina, maybe up to Maryland, and maybe it briefly gets to southern New Jersey, but that's it. And then it just slides out underneath you, because the NAO is so strong, everything winds up getting suppressed.
Well, somebody out there, I think it was, Red Tape, just made the comment on the chat board. Those models are almost worthless that far out.
Oh, no, I understand but my point in showing it is that
Yeah,
it's we're in this broad blocky pattern, and you're going to see models go back and forth in all sorts of directions, depending on the strength of those stretched out teleconnections.
I mean, I will say this: after the front moves on through Thursday night, there's not one, not two, not three, but if you really want to play it all the way out to the 384-hour, prog, you've got four different systems that are rolling across the central United States to the Atlantic coast, which has a potential to affect us in one way, shape, or form. So we're going to be going into a very active pattern indeed in the coming days ahead. And who's to say that, you talk about, well, we went to the well once too often. Maybe, the three of those four will miss out, because the most of the action passed on by to our side. But maybe one of them may actually come close enough to give us yet another round of significant snow. We'll see.
Split flow, northern stream, southern stream. And by the way, one of the interesting things that seems to be happening is the La Nina is feeding that very active southern part of the jet stream. So if the northern part, which is probably controlled more by the polar vortex, were to get into a certain position on a regular basis, it could get pretty hectic around here as we head into January. I agree with you. We're going to be active into at least the first part of the month, and maybe even beyond that, depending on what the whole polar vortex thing does, which I'll show in a second. But I want to go back to this cold front here, and look at the NAM, Joe. This is at 10 o'clock Friday evening. Look at that squall line. I saw this and I thought, is this April? Is this May? You know, that is really impressive to have a line like that. And it holds together, it only goes out to 84 hours. The NAM is a little bit slower, and has the front coming through at like 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, whereas the GFS has been a little bit faster. But as you said, V-shaped isobars, always a sign that you've got a powerhouse coming through when the isobars are like that. Very sharp, a very sharp wind shift going from 180 to probably about 310, 320. That's a big shift.
I'm looking here at SPC, and they have for days 4, 5, 6, 7. They have potential of predictability too low, and I'm just trying to see what they, it's amazing. Did they mention anything? A deep and mature upper trough expected to cover much of the central and eastern CONUS early day 4 Thursday. Primary low associated with this system will likely be occluded over Ontario, but secondary cyclogenesis is anticipated over the southeast, with the resulting low then moving quickly northeastward along the lee of the Appalachians into the northern mid-Atlantic. Some severe potential may develop ahead of this low and its attendant cold front as it moves quickly eastward. So they're thinking about it, just like we're thinking about it. But right now they're kind of like, I'm not going to say they're wimping out, but they're just saying it's a little bit too far in the future for us to be any more specific than that. But yeah, it looks like there could very well be some lightning and thunder and on Donner and Blitzen for
Right.
Thursday night and Friday morning.
Well, I just for you, Joe, I brought up the 700 millibar F gen so we could look at the Omega on.
Yeah, the GFS had what you have on the screen, or at least my screen right now. But as it headed further east, it kind of got less, you know, vivid or less
Yeah,
portentous.
it's also the Omega seems to be. I'm looking at this is for Thursday evening. So you got that. There's so much purple there. It almost looks like somebody just took a paintbrush and just painted one color up and down. But that seems to lag behind. If you look at where the radar is at that time frame, the Omega is well to the west of where the thunderstorms are, which at this point are in eastern Pennsylvania and western New Jersey by 0Z. Is that unusual? Because I really don't pay too much. I really don't pay a whole lot
It's
of.
kind of like
Recently, I have. I started looking at that much more. Ever since you brought it up.
yeah. Well, it looks like the radar is outrunning the atmospheric energy, so to speak.
Right. But then you look at the NAM. Okay, the NAM makes a little more sense because the NAM at 0Z has the line of storms forming very close to where the GFS has that Omega. And if I'll bring up the NAM's Omega. I'll start with the 850. I mean, take a look, Joe. When the 850, so you see where the NAM has the storms, and now, well, you can see it now. You see where the NAM has the storms, and that's where now the 850 Omega is going to come up, and you're going to see that the Omega matches where the Nam has it, as opposed to where the uh, with the GFS has the Omega in the same spot, but it has the storms well out to the east. This
Right.
does this argue then maybe that this makes more sense? That
Yeah.
maybe
Well,
it's going to be a
yeah,
little bit slower.
yeah, yeah. Quite frankly, I would, I don't know why, but I like the NAM on this particular scenario as opposed to the GFS. I like the way the NAM is, um, showing it or displaying it as
Right.
opposed to the GFS. So yeah, so let's see. I'm thinking back now. I don't think we've ever had a severe thunderstorm watch on Christmas Eve or Christmas Eve night around here.
No,
I
that would
think
be a
maybe,
kick. That would be a kick in the pants if we did get
well,
one.
it's 2020, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. We just had a storm that produced 40-inch amounts over 4 states. Why
Right,
not? By the way,
right.
we're two likes shy of 100. Can you make me happy and give me a Christmas present, folks? And just two of you would hit the like button. That would be great, so we could take it over 100, and then we could, Joe and I will be content. So I'm going to bring up the let's bring up the polar vortex. There was some pretty interesting things going on up here. I've been following this almost religiously, uh, almost run to run, just to see if this forecast. Thank you. We're up to 102. Joe is very happy. One is very happy. Thank you very much. But take a look, Joe. Again, every single run of the GFS, and from what I understand, the Europeans been doing the same. This massive warming that's going on, this stratospheric warming event, and you can follow that along. You just watch that very, very dark red area is warm air attacking the polar vortex, and then all of a sudden all the dark blue disappears because the polar vortex is weakening and stretching. Now on this run it doesn't split it, but there were a couple of runs. It seems like every other run splits this in two, where one center goes into northern Europe and the other center drops down into Hudson Bay. Uh, Going to be interesting to see this play out, because the weak state of either way, even if it weren't to split, the fact that the polar vortex is in the stratosphere is weak. If it couples down to the bottom of the atmosphere, it is considered bullish for winter weather in the U.S. Um, you're not exactly sure where, but it is bullish for winter weather, and it's bullish for the idea of cold Arctic air, Siberian air to get released and potentially move down into Canada and perhaps down into the lower 48. No guarantees from the management, obviously, but um, this is going to have a big. This is going to be a big player in the coming 4 or 5 weeks, in
Yeah,
my
no question.
opinion.
No question. Although I'm scratching my head because the CPC really hasn't shown, the Climate Prediction Center really has not shown very much leaning toward any kind of a significant outbreak, either on their 6 to 10 or 8 to 14 day out. Even on their experimental 3 to 4 week maps, Joe, they
Hmm.
still have much of the country in above normal. So I'm kind of wondering, are they looking at something, or they're seeing at something that we're not looking at or seeing? Because what I'm seeing here suggests that, yeah, there's going to be some very cold air pouring into the contiguous United States as we get on toward the end of the year and on into early next year. But we'll see.
Yep. Well, uh, what matters to snow lovers is that it's cold at the right time. So,
Yeah,
just like it was with the storm from last week, the high appeared at the right time, in the right place, and wedged in the right way for many, but not all. If you're in parts of coastal New Jersey, especially from Southern Ocean County southward, you might disagree with this. If you're down in the Washington D.C. area and point southward, you might disagree with this. But given the time of year, it wasn't too shabby an event, not at all.
John Charles on the chat board says that he thinks the GFS might be too progressive with the system early next week and might actually be missing the phasing potential. And that's certainly a
Oh
possibility.
yeah, I would say that that is a reason that is a reasonable assertion to make, given the fact that you've got multiple jets with multiple short waves, and you know the models are going to have a difficult time timing things out from one run to another, and you're just going to you just have to kind of follow the path and see where it takes you. That's really the best thing you can do at this point. But at least if you recognize the broad picture that's happening in the northern hemisphere, you're one step ahead of the game, because you know you won't necessarily be surprised if all of a sudden you find that the models are doing something that might be more favorable for winter weather on one run versus another. Shraggy Stern hitting the super chat board today, making 3 tonight. Thank you so much, sir. Appreciate it. And 132 likes, Joe. We've got 310 weather fans on, which is really nice on the Monday on Christmas week to get 300 folks on, and there's no major storm threatening. That's great. That's great. It makes us
Well,
feel good.
no major storms threatening, but certainly a major cold front that lies in our future for Christmas Eve into Christmas Eve night, and I'm sure that the interest will continue to rise in the next couple of days. Now, just do you have any this week? We Wednesday is Festivus, December 23rd,
Right.
but I don't think we're going to be doing anything for Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, are we?
I'm around, so I'm not going anywhere. So if there's weather going on and you feel like doing a live show, we can do a live show Thursday and Friday.
Well, I'll be probably in the Bronx on Thursday evening, but
All right.
Friday I'm about I'm probably going to
Well,
be
yeah,
here.
Christmas Eve is Christmas Eve, so we'll probably not do a show on Christmas Eve, but maybe on Christmas Day in the evening when everybody's, got the food hangover. Um, we can jump on. Scott Briller hitting super chat tonight too. I was just about to mention the fact that the chairman, Scott Briller, who is usually the first person on the chat board every day, but not every day because he's been busy doing COVID deliveries, and we always wish him the safest of trips when he does that. But he left a very interesting statistic, and this is for the city of Philadelphia. In the 11, now Philadelphia had got 6 inches from that system last week, and there have been 11 winters since 1950 where Philadelphia had at least 6 inches of snow in December. 10 of the 11 winters then produced an additional 10-inch plus snowstorm.
So there you go. You
So
played by
10
the
out
numbers,
of 11. That's not too shabby a stat, by the way.
right?
Um, and New York City, by the way, the 10.5 inches was the 13th biggest snow in the month of December, for
Pretty
the month
good,
of December.
pretty good. And of course, what in my Central Park survey from before the snow season really began to roll, I said any time Central Park sees more than 7.7 inches of snow in the month of December, usually signals a big snow winter of 40 inches or more. And in fact, there were 9 cases where we had 40 inches. So it's like 100% certainty that we're going to see a lot of snow at Central Park this season if you go by that statistical quirk. And 3 of those 9 were 3 of the biggest snowfalls ever in Central Park. The three of the biggest snow years ever, including the winter of 95, 96, which brought Central Park 75 inches of snow.
Right.
And so if you're
But
a
but
snow lover, and that, Joe, I know we talk about how that rule really applies only to Central Park, but really, in this particular case now, you would have to say that if Central Park ended up with 40 or 50 or 60 inches of snow, that certainly everybody around Central Park would certainly have to end up with a well above normal winter as
you
well.
would think.
Yeah.
Sometimes odd things happen in some years, though. But yeah, you would think that would be the case. Bill Rogers. I don't know if you mean Joe Rayo for this question because I usually you can't see it because I have the green screen background now, but I've got Lionel trains boxes of Lionel trains behind me. You want to know whether you put them up for the holidays? I didn't this year. Most years I do put up something. I'm actually thinking about next year or sometime during this coming year to set up something permanently, a large layout because I've got 7 sets here and tons of track and all sorts of you know villages, houses, churches, gas stations, all the rest of it, so I can build myself a nice little city and then make like they do in New York and tax everybody to death. Uh, so, on that particular note, let us do what will be the last, excuse me, the last Briller Jeopardy of. I drank wine before the show, so it's just
Okay.
kind of cool. Um, the last Briller Jeopardy of 2020. Scott's taking a little time off from this, and rightfully so. So, the category tonight, Mr. Rayo, is the state's lowest recorded temperatures ever within 5 degrees for credit. So, we will begin with the lowest temperature ever recorded in the People's Republic of the State of New Jersey.
Well, I seem to remember in 1994 that in the northwestern part of New Jersey, and I'm not sure if it was Sussex County, had some ridiculously low figure, something like 30, 38 below zero. Um,
That is
I'm,
within 5.
it is within five.
Yes.
So,
So I'm going
uh,
to accept that as your answer.
okay,
So you quit while you're behind.
okay,
So 34 in Rivervale, New Jersey.
all right.
Next is the People's Republic of the State of New York's lowest temperature ever recorded.
I'm not sure if it was in Boonton, upstate New York, or Saranac Lake, or whatever.
Not young, but
Old,
right.
Old Forge,
Bingo.
58 below zero,
Shave off just a little bit.
55 below
We
zero.
will accept that. 52 is the correct answer. Now, let us go down to the Sunshine State of Florida.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't think Florida has ever had below zero temperatures, although for Tallahassee and for Jacksonville, I'm going to say single digits. I'll say, let's say Jacksonville or someplace near Jacksonville, 8 degrees.
Wah, 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 wah. It was Tallahassee. You got that part right.
Okay.
And the temperature actually did go below zero there, -2.
Wow. And you wouldn't think that that would be possible since they're so close to the Gulf Coast.
I don't
That
know
that
what year that was, but I wonder whether it was in January of 77.
Yeah, the year that Miami saw a couple of snowflakes and recorded it as
Right. Just
snow.
just just a hunch. Okay. Hawaii.
Oh, now that are we talking about? Are we including Mauna Kea, for
Well,
example?
that's the answer. Mauna Kea is the Mauna Kea Observatory. What's the lowest temperature recorded there?
Oh, Joe, they're 14,400 feet above sea level. What could that possibly
Where
be?
do they have like ibex up there walking around the sides of the hills?
I I don't know. Um, I do know that if you want to visit the observatory, you have to make a stop at the 9,000 foot level to get acclimated because you start
Oh
the air
yeah,
gets
you
so
start getting
thin up there.
dizzy. Oh sure. Uh,
14,000. What would they? Well, for every 1,000 feet, you lose 3.5 degrees. That's a dry adiabatic, and that's a 30 and the 80 degrees down at the surface, and I don't know. I don't know. I really wouldn't know what
well,
what they would
it's
have.
cold enough to snow up there, so it's got to be less than 32.
Yeah, but what I'm thinking of is, did they actually drop below 0 Fahrenheit at one time?
I'll give you a help on this. The answer is no.
Okay, so why don't I say what I said for Jacksonville? 8,
15.
15. Okay.
15. All right, Minnesota.
Oh well, we're talking about International Falls probably, and there. How about 65 below zero? or
All
something.
right, close. 60 below in Tower, Minnesota. Not sure exactly where that is.
Okay.
Um, the state where the "Welcome to" and "You are now leaving" signs are the same on the same sign. Delaware,
Ba.
and only on the turnpike, but only on 95. I'm talking about with the
Right,
signs.
right. Well, and if they go back far enough, how about minus 18?
Boy, very good. Minus 17 in Georgetown, Delaware.
There you go.
Maine,
Oh well, Caribou, Presque Isle, somewhere up there. Not quite as cold as International Falls or Tower, Minnesota. And let's see if they because if Old Fort can get to minus 52 and Tower can get to minus 60. How about minus 56?
minus 50. Clayton Lake, Maine.
Minus
Virginia,
50? That's all
minus
they were able to get
50.
down to?
That's what it says.
Wow.
Virginia,
Virginia. Virginia, I'd say the higher terrain areas, mountainous terrain. How about minus 23?
minus 30 in Pembroke, Virginia. And
Yeah.
the last one is Connecticut,
Hartford, Hartford. Um, minus 19.
minus 37 in
I should have gone.
Norfolk, Connecticut. Now, remember, Long Island's is minus 23. So
Right, right.
I guess under certain circumstances, maybe it's a radiational cooling kind of night that they got to minus 37. And I just want to say thanks for all the support, Joe and Joe, and the chat board. Briller Jeopardy returns on January 3rd, 2021.
Sponsored by the Michael C. Fina
FINA
Company,
Company and the
the
Spiegel
Spiegel
Catalog Company.
Catalog,
Spiegel, Chicago, Illinois,
60609.
60609. Oh, good Lord.
And Dicker and Dicker of
Dicker and
Beverly
Ticker of
Hills.
Beverly Hills. The first shot that I didn't get the joke until I was about 50. Why are these people laughing? I don't get it. It's not that I've led a sheltered existence, but I just didn't think that they did
And never
those
put two
that
and two
sort of
together.
thing on television.
Yes. It's
All
like
right.
for years I watched that one cartoon with Yosemite Sam having a big fight with Bugs Bunny on top of the train. And it wasn't until I was about 45 that I realized that the train pulled into Rising Gorge.
Yeah. Or when Sylvester and Tweety are in Italy with Granny. They're in Venice, and he's trying to catch Tweety on the gondola, and the gondola goes underneath the bridge, and the bridge is low, and the
Right.
sign on the bridge says, "Ducka you head, low low Brigida."
And they're bringing back on MeTV Saturday morning Looney Tune
Yeah,
cartoons.
I saw that.
But how can they are I heard somewhere they're sanitizing it that Elmer Fudd is not going to be carrying a
Yes,
gun.
I heard that too. I mean, just I can't. I don't even want to go down that particular road. As you know, am a purist when it comes to editing stuff that was not the original intent of those who created it.
Correct.
You don't change what was created by someone else. I don't care what it is. You let it stand. Just my opinion. You let it stand on its own, and it may not necessarily be a positive thing, and it may not necessarily be a negative thing. But you don't take somebody else's work and mess with it. I have a real problem with that,
Absolutely.
and when it comes to stuff that was produced many years ago, you know, yeah, granted, it obviously it doesn't necessarily fit the social norms that we have now versus then, but I still don't believe that you take something that was created by somebody else and change it to suit your needs because you know what? 50 years from now, somebody's going to take your stuff and change it to suit their needs, and
But I mean,
you're not
one
going to
of the
like that.
one of the funniest go-betweens between Daffy and Bugs and Elmer is the part where he said, you know, shoot me now,
Yes.
you know, pronoun trouble. And he says, but I wanted to
Oh
shoot
my
me
God! But
now.
those are Joe. Those are among the best Bugs Bunny cartoons are the ones with uh, Bugs and Daffy arguing between rabbit season and duck season.
Right,
I mean,
right,
that's the hilarity of it all. Those are
right,
if you ask diehard Bugs Bunny runners, Bugs Bunny fans, Looney Tunes fans, they're going to tell you that those probably on their list of favorite cartoons. Because they weren't, here's the thing that bugs me about it. Those cartoons originally were not produced for kids; they were
no,
produced for adults.
absolutely,
So I don't know who had the bright idea to put them on for kids. Because frankly, when you're a kid watching it, you just you laugh at the coyote falling off the cliff and the little puff of smoke going up, but you really don't have a concept of what's going on. Um, these cartoons were made for adults to watch in between movie features in the days where you paid for you paid for one movie and
right.
got two.
The people
Um,
at Warner Brothers, they call the people who put those cartoons together, Chuck Jones, Carl Stalling, Leon Schlesinger. They call that termite terrace. And
mhm.
you're absolutely right. They weren't doing it for the kids. You think that one where Bugs is in the department store and the floor walker who has a voice like the great Gildersleeve,
Right.
and he said, "I'd like to see something nice in a pair of bedroom slippers." And he says, confidentially.
So
So
would I. Was
you think
the
that was for kids?
was the store Lacey's or Stacy's? I always
I
liked when they took a name of something you knew and they would change one letter.
right,
Like it was Western Union was Eastern Onion,
right.
and Macy's was Lacey's and Stacy's, and they did it with a few other things too. I always got a kick out of that.
Somebody
Um,
way back on the chat board, I'm not even going to try to scroll back, but was asking about the great conjunction between Jupiter and Saturn tonight. And
yes.
for about 2 or 3 hours this afternoon, Joe, the sky was beautifully clear. Everybody was rejoicing. Oh, we're going to see it. We're going to see it. But on the satellite picture, the hole that clear sky was so small. And I
Yeah.
said, I don't know. When we get to evening, we may end up seeing the clouds streaming back in, which is exactly what happened, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So a lot of people missed out. But tomorrow night, it should be mainly clear and you should have a good view. But the only difference between tonight and tomorrow night is tonight they were at their absolute closest. Tomorrow night they won't be quite as close, but they'll still be impressively close. So if you want to see it, it's not over. You'll be able to see it tomorrow night. Jupiter very close to the planet Saturn, the closest they have been in about 800 years, and the closest that they'll be until 2080. And I don't know where you will be, Joe, but I will be watching it in 2080, well above the cloud deck in 2080.
Well, we could only hope and pray.
Well, we can hope and pray. Yes.
Right. The Joe and Joe Weather Show brought to you by Omni True Value Hardware of West Babylon, 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, 631-756-1125. The website is omnitruevalue.com. They are Long Island's largest provider of rock salt and all the snow melting materials that you need on these days where everything melts by day and refreezes by night. And you know what? You're going to run out and you're going to need more for when the next winter storm hits. And you know it's going to sooner or later. So make sure you take a visit to Omni True Value Hardware, serving Long Island and much of the tri state area, by the way. They get a lot of folks from all the boroughs. So run out to Omni. And stop in next door, by the way, in the deli, Joe. You would love it because it's stocked with all this memorabilia from the 60s and 70s, the toys of the 60s and 70s, like Rock'em Sock'em Robots.
Oh wow.
Remember Rock'em Sock'em
Oh yeah,
Robots?
I had Rock'em
They got
Sock'em
a they
Robots.
have a mint set there, sitting for everyone to see. It's astounding, and Johnny Lightning racing cars and oh god, the Flintstones caricatures and games from that time frame, hands down. Stuff from the Ideal. Remember the Ideal Toy Company?
Mousetrap,
Mousetrap. Yeah.
Crazy Clock,
Yep.
Crazy Clock game,
Exactly.
Wonder Art.
Yep. All right. So you and I back tomorrow night at 7:30 Eastern time, folks. Thanks for being here. Thanks for those of you who hit Super chat. Joe and I always appreciate it when you nail the tip jar and gets us an extra bottle of liquor every once in a while, which is a good thing. So we'll see you tomorrow night at 7:30. Good night, everybody.
Good night, folks.